All right, guys, welcome back to Beard of Darkness Book Reviews. I have been absolutely just giddy for this live stream. Anna got a hold of me. Was like, "Hey, me and Fletch have been talking, and I think it would be so wonderful to be on your channel to talk about this upcoming novella." We'll get into the name and all that fun stuff. But first, I want to introduce my wonderful guests, Anna Smith Spark and Michael R. Fletcher. How are y'all doing today?
I'm good. How you guys doing?
I'm wonderful. So I'm sorry. What I usually do, so we'll go Anna, Michael, me, Anna, Michael. So just it's easier that way. That way we don't interrupt each other.
Yeah, cool.
Okay.
So
We can behave. Oh shit! I already screwed it up.
it's not. It was that's my screw up. Usually that's something I'll talk about before we come on. Um, so again, I'm so thankful you guys are here. Even more thankful that you wrote this wonderful, dark, deliciously all sorts of different things that I have still yet to put a name on. When I do reviews for this book and the few places that I do reviews, it's coming up with descriptive words. And I can kind of do that improv maybe during like a live, but when it comes to writing, I feel I'm way too hard on myself. Um, but nonetheless, let's hear about tell us the name of this upcoming novella, a little bit about it, and what you would say the subgenres are.
Oh God, right, I'm starting. Okay. Okay. So we have the this isn't actually the cover, this is the art cover. We don't actually have a copy of the book cover yet. It's not called Time to Kill, it's called In the Shadow of Their Dying. And yeah, it's a it's a kind of grimdark,
Fluffy fantasy, cozy fantasy.
oh yes, very cozy, yes.
About
Gentle.
people sipping tea and talking about their issues. You know, there's a lot of hugging going on.
Exactly. That is so I've become familiar with and fans of both of those, of you guys, Anna Smith Spark and Michael R. Fletcher. I enjoy your storytelling. Anna, I love your very unique voice when it comes to things that I do and don't think about. Walking down the street. Sorry for my green screen. It's being weird. Walking down the street or talking to somebody and noticing things about them. I really enjoyed both of your pros. And when I heard that you guys were going to dream team this bad boy, I said, "Oh, okay." Grimdark magazine. Adrian's over there knowing what he's doing, getting these two wonderful. Well, first before I say that, whose idea was it to do this novella?
This was all Adrian, wasn't it?
Yeah, Adrian decided putting the two of us together would be a good idea. And yeah, I'm not sure he thought it was the dream team.
Yeah.
Oh,
We're told.
I have absolutely talked to him about it, and he does feel that way. He loves you both so much. If you don't believe me, you can check out our interview with him, and it was wonderful.
I think he may be blocking some of the bits when he was yelling at the two of us. What are you doing? Do you have any idea? I mean, do you even read each other's chapters before you write the next installment?
I love that you said that. When we talked, Anna, you had said something about it. I kind of dismissed it because I thought it was way in the future. I was like, I'm not going to get too excited about this novella coming out with you and Michael R. Fletcher co-authoring it, and how Adrian was kind of, in the process that way. And it was very shortly after that I heard news of this, and I said, "Oh my gosh, that's exactly what she was talking about." So to bring that memory up of you speaking of Adrian, what time was it? What were you smelling? Those were the kind of intimate details that you said he would go into. Is that kind of go ahead? So yeah, I'm sorry to make it less confusing. Whoever wants to answer, you guys just boom. Adrian Gibson in this process of just kind of
Adrian Collins, GDM.
Yeah,
Adrian
why am I saying Adrian Gibson?
The
I'm so sorry. Adrian Gibson's an indie author. I'm my bad. Yeah, Adrian Collins, the wonderful Grimdark magazine. Anyway, Michael, being a part of that process with you guys, I heard that was a fun experience. Would you tell us a little bit about it?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's chaos. I mean, I suspect Anna and I, while we write completely differently, um, we share a level of lack of planning, I suspect. Like I think Adrian maybe thought we were sort of a slicker at this than we are, and I mean it came together, but it was a process. Anna,
That's
what are
been
you thinking, Anna? Is that your Emma? Sound
Well, that
throw
was
something
kind
in.
of why it was so lovely, because it was kind of because it was just sort of having to kind of deal with like, okay, this thing, okay, so this thing has now happened that I could not have, that kind of my character has to respond to. It was kind of like a role-playing game, so it was like kind of, which was how it was intended to be written. So it was, the original idea was it would be a serial, so it wasn't a kind of collaboration as in we'd sort of write it together, we'd do it as a serial. So you had that thing that almost like, you know, long-running television series have, where kind of people are taking different things and like kind of there's, you know, obviously there's some kind of coherent arc, but it was very incoherent. It was very much a kind of, okay, so this is happening, so now my character needs to respond, and I don't know why this has happened, so my character needs to respond. And it was kind of, so that was really fun, and it was kind of, and I guess there was that sense as well that, I mean, yeah, Adrian kind of got the two of us to do something, and it was obviously like, you know, this isn't like a publisher wanting to publish a book that someone who hasn't read a fantasy novel for like, you know, 40 years is going to read because, you know, they've never read a fantasy novel before, but they quite like that Game of Thrones thing, and kind of, they quite like Bernard Cornwell, so maybe they'll give a fantasy novel a go. It was like, you know, there wasn't any of that pressure to make it kind of vanilla for anyone. It was like, okay, you two just go. So
I love that.
went.
There's a couple things that when I think about authors, making standalones and a series at the same time is one of them. But another huge thing is co-authoring, and you've kind of hit it home when in my mind, because I can imagine how. Sorry if you guys hear a baby or two. They are home from the babysitters today. I apologize. But in my head, if I'm co-authoring with somebody, it's going to be my move, your move, my move, your move. And you have to kind of be intimate with the details of both prose. Prose. I don't know if that's the plural. Somebody correct me in the chat if I'm wrong. So in my mind, you guys explained it very much the way I thought about it. This is kind of a hard question to ask, so I hope it comes through. You two coming together on the main premise, the plots. What was the inspirations for both of you behind this novella? Anna, if you would start.
I have no idea. I have been trying to remember how some of this stuff happened. It actually began quite a long time ago, and COVID really got in the way. But I know, remember, with the original brief was to write something. I think it was moving on from the anthology "The King Must Fall." So there was, I think there was supposed to be, but it was supposed to be in a city. And I cannot for the life of me remember how any of this came about. Partly because I don't think I ever know why any of the stuff I write comes about. But I have no idea. Why did I end up writing a demon? Where did she come from? Where did any of that come from? I have no idea how it happened.
Yeah,
It just...
I don't remember either. I remember I think we chatted and had a couple of vague ideas, and we were like, oh, cool, city under siege, assassins, some kind of demon thing. And it was all very vague. I remember I had just read Gareth Hanrahan's, crap, I'm gapping out on the book, his first. And I thought, fuck, that is a really cool feeling he captured there. And so I wanted a little bit of that. And then, I mean, really, we'd sort of we'd write our part and hand it off, and the other person just had to deal with whatever madness we did. And sort of that was the fun. I mean, it's like not intentionally trying to write each other into a corner, but you just hand it off. And it's like, yeah, if characters die, they die. If they figure out how to get out of this, great. And, you know, there are a whole pile of dead people by the end of that book story.
Yeah, and not just any assassin, right? The third.
The third best. Well, yeah, I thought the best assassin. I mean, that's been done to death. The best assassin is fucking boring. But the guy who's kind of like, maybe he's third best. I don't know.
That was it was a treat.
Clinging to that, like that's his like big point of pride, is that he's third best.
That's why I really love Mike's books so much, and was so keen to write with him, because there's that sense of just that really human sense of, yeah, I'm a bit crap at this. It's kind of, yeah, you know, that it's like, it's not that kind of, I mean, because I do fall into, I try and, you know, my characters are all kind of, a lot of them do end up, they're like, I mean, Maris is beautiful prince, and, you know, they're all kind of, I do end up giving them this romance, and they're a bit special. And then Mike's like, yeah, fuck that. This guy is like, he's just so human. He's just so like, I mean, he's actually, you know, he's an assassin, and he's actually, you know, he is pretty, and he is a pretty boy, and he's, you know, and I'd have written him, and it'd be this like really romantic. And Mike's like, his characters are just real. They're just real people, just fucking up and carrying on, and being like, yeah, but I'm the third best. I mean, like, get me the third best.
That's the second loser, right? That's what I always heard, like growing up playing sports. Like you come in second, you're the first loser. You've won that position as the first loser. And I think that applies in this because you as you're reading, you hear him reiterate that he's the third best and like why certain things are happening for the amount being, you know what I mean? And I think it played a really fun role in the novella. The characters, though, as I knew it would be, just knocked it out of the park for me. The feel, the overall tone, kind of just grimy, dingy, wet. And for some reason in my mind, I picture the whole entire novella. It's nighttime. Like daytime doesn't ever happen. And
I do know that we
There
have
might
a
be a reason.
night scene.
what is it?
Continuity reason for that.
All right.
Like, does the whole thing take place in one evening, one night? Yeah, no one goes to bed or anything.
Yeah,
right?
no,
It's
yeah,
not like,
no,
oh,
yeah.
they woke up refreshed in the morning. It's like,
Yeah.
it starts and then, you know, and it ends and
Yeah.
it's night the whole time.
So okay, and I like that, and I like that maybe it was already in your guys' mind as part of the experience because
We planned all of that in
Oh yeah,
intimate
yeah.
detail, every little piece, every word.
I never
It's
doubted it.
It's not like having any memory of going through and taking out a couple of references to time because it was just not going to work otherwise because people were having lunch at the same time as other people were going to bed. So
Yeah. So real quick, I want to throw some names up here. Some people that are here for us to watch is Tim McKay, another wonderful India. Oh, I love that it did that. It shrunk the screen so it didn't cover your face, Mike. I was so scared because sometimes it does that. My wonderful wife and the babysitter at the moment, Book Mama 87, Anna Tim A. Oh, sorry. There we go. Tim A. right there. Tim McKay, my man. Thanks for being here again, brother. Ryan Skeffington. Oh, another wonderful indie author. D.B. Rook, who is a huge fan of this as well. In the Shadow of Their Dying. And he, like, I knew I was going to read it fast. But man, D.B. Rook really just blazed through it. And he felt the same way coming off of it that I did. Kind of just this, you both bring separate parts to a wonderful story. I love your storytelling, Mike. I love your storytelling too, Anna, but I also really like your way of describing something disgustingly beautiful or gloriously grotesque. Like, gives me an experience rather, or a feeling rather than just a read. Is what goes into some of those moments for you?
see, I have no idea how some of that, where any of the stuff comes from. So I've actually I'm annotating a copy of I'm doing a whole annotated series of my books that I sold as part of a charity auction. So I'm having to go back and reread Empires of Dust. And again, it's the wars, the big battle scenes as well. I have no idea where this stuff comes from. The demon, I have no idea where that comes from. I just start writing. And it's just completely real. The whole thing is just absolutely. And then afterwards, I have no idea where that came from. And
so you're a pantser then. And I remember this, but I want to just reiterate for people who may not have seen our last talk. You sit down at your computer and it reads that way. That was a question I'll always ask people because I'm very interested in personal process and how you got there. But there's not a lot of people I can guess. And most of the time I can't wait to hear the answer. For you, I always knew that you sat down and you kind of just went with it and it came natural for you. And when I ask you such things like inspirations, you're like, it just kind of like came to me as I was doing my thing, and there it is.
So, because it's really painful. It's just fucking painful because I know I know I can do it, and sometimes I can't, and I'm just, it's like sometimes it's all there and I can't get it to come down, and I'm like shouting at myself because I can't make it right. And I know it's like trying to draw something. It's like trying to do a drawing from like trying to do a live drawing, and sometimes it's just not completely. It's completely wrong, and I can't. And it just drives me, and I'm shouting and screaming, and then sometimes it just happens, and
that's very personal to your process, and I think that's super important. I remember saying this the last time we talked, but your ability to like share that and the most authentic way that's really in the moment to you, even speaking about it here. I bravoed that last time.
I hate writing most of the time because it's just the sheer pain of like trying to copy the thing in front of me. It's like, and getting it wrong. It's like translation or something. I don't know. It's like being back in French class. Like, I do know the answer to that sentence, but I don't, and I don't recognize those words. And yeah, and then occasionally it's right, and then that moment it makes it worth it. But yeah, no, most of the time I hate writing because it's so sheer pain.
I like that you share that. I do. I love that. And then that's what you do. That's your personal thing. I absolutely love it. We've got another wonderful Tim McKay. I mentioned him earlier. I've yelled at my keyboard a few times mid-story. It's a real problem. We have some relation there. So as a wonderful storyteller, you've got a lot of books out, Michael. And
what? Good, Michael Fletcher.
Okay. Cool. Thank you. And what I absolutely loved were the little Easter eggs. I know that during my read, I sent you one, Michael, and it was something that Anna wrote. But the dripping bucket, would you tell us a little bit of where that came from?
Well, okay. I can't tell you the origins because those are a secret.
Okay.
But about 5 years ago, I think I was writing Blackstone Heart at the time. The dripping bucket appeared in there, and that might be the first time. I don't actually remember. And as a joke on Facebook, I said, "Hey, wouldn't it be cool if there was like a chain of taverns that every fantasy writer could use if they wanted? They could include it in their work. There's no copyright. You never have to mention where it came from. And it's called the Dripping Bucket, and it's different in every reality. In some, it's a nice restaurant, and some, it's a divey shithole, And I threw it on Facebook as a joke. Now, years later, the Dripping Bucket is probably more famous and more successful than I am. It's in dozens and dozens of short stories and books. And most of the time, which is what I love, the writer never mentions it. I know a bunch because I get messages like from like Peter McLean type, like, and he just drops it in there with no mention, and it's just a little Easter egg for people to find. And you gotta remember, like, most people reading fantasy, they're not chatting with me or any of these authors on social media. They're just reading the books.
Sure.
And the idea is, what I love is someone, going, Dripping Bucket. Didn't I see that in a different book by another author? Like, what the fuck is that? And then, catching it in another one, in a short story here, just being like, what the fuck? I love
I dig it
like that. It entertains me.
It is. I mean, I didn't know all of those details, but I had a good idea of most of them. And I think that is so creative to come up with a different version in each story. Just people can drop it in there, and those who know will know, like that saying. And I absolutely loved the feel of the Dripping Bucket in this. But again, even more so, I loved the characters. So Anna, would you tell us a little bit more? And I hope I'm not saying this wrong. In fact, I'm going to wait for you to say it. The name of the demon.
So the demon is called, I think it's pronounced Inanna.
Okay.
Though it's not actually spelled Inanna as far as I can actually see looking at it.
I say Inanna.
Yeah,
But But so what went into that? I know you said a lot about your inspirations kind of come to you in the moment, but I had this experience. At first, I just wasn't fully aware of what was going on, and once I did, oh my gosh, it was like an animal, kind of stalking its prey, which is basically, what's going on. And this was an incredible experience. So I just like to hear a little bit more about you writing that part.
Yeah, I don't know. Although she's kind of always been with me, which makes me sound really scary. I think she's a lot of the writing I did when I was a teenager. I wrote loads of I spent my teenage years writing kind of gothy, weird fiction torture porn, which is very arty and was, again, like a lot of it was present tense. A lot of it was, very kind of no grammar, very kind of, sort of literary, no grammar, no sort of stuff. And stuff, really weird stuff like comic book scripts, but where you were reading the description of the scenes. It wasn't written to be illustrated. It was like you were reading like the description of like the panel descriptions and things, and all this like really weird stuff. And I think she came out of that. I think she's been in my head. So Marith and Thalia have been in my head for forever. They were like the main characters of every story I ever told myself. When I was a child, I'd tell myself all these like stories based on Celtic myth and Norse myth and Greek myth and fairy stories, and they were always about Marith and Thalia. I think in Anra, the demon is, I think she's been in my head since I was a teenager. I think she's partly, I did not have a very good teenage years. I was a really fucked up teenager.
Hey, there's people who can relate with that. I know I can.
Yeah, no, I was a real mess. But I was kind of channeling that into writing this really weird stuff. And
it brought you where you are today. And
yes. And it kind of, and it was fun to go back to kind of revisit that kind of, I didn't write kind of fantasy when I was a teenager. It didn't write the kind of epic fantasy I write now when I was a teenager. I wrote this really weird, slightly sexualized stuff. I'm making myself sound like really scary teenager.
Nope. You sound like a writer.
But so it was a lot of that kind of stuff. And and it just kind of, and again, because I'd had this kind of opportunity it felt like I had an opportunity to go somewhere a bit further and do something that kind of wasn't, this is like, this is trying to be a commercial novel. So I could just go with it. And it kind of just went.
Just happened, yeah.
And it happened. And it was, I mean, things like the kind of, the sort of stuff, some of the stuff I was sort of thinking about. And then actually also a couple of years ago, I had this really, really hilarious, I possibly shouldn't talk about this, but Warhammer kind of vaguely approached me asking if I'd be interested to write some 40k stuff. And I kind of said, I'd love to write about Plague Marines. And they sort of said, oh, cool, write about Plague Marines. So I wrote about Plague Marines and I sent it to them. And they kind of sent it back saying, this is really capturing the way sort of perhaps Plague Marines might be, but it is unpublishable.
Okay.
And because so I guess I've been kind of thinking about that, but then it's kind of, that's the kind of stuff I think about.
Well, there's a market for every book, and maybe that wasn't the market that they were going for, but I have to say, Grimdark magazine being, correct me if I'm wrong, but the publisher of this.
Yeah.
Okay, I was just making sure that sounded right. But it makes the feel that they give, morally gray characters, dark world, pretty much what they go by. And to anything that they usually do, it's like, you can absolutely count me as a fan. So there's check one. And then you two adding, it was just so exciting. And this is for me. Anything else in the future you guys think that you will jot down together like this book?
I don't know. Really, it kind of depends on, like I guess if Adrian or someone comes to us with something like this again, we might do it. I don't know. We both sort of, this worked really well because we could both be little control freaks in our own little domain. Actually co-writing a full novel is a bit of a different beast. You know, like I don't know. It's tricky.
If the
How they
day
have
and
to start,
time,
man.
yeah. Well, it is. If and that's a lot of life. It's like, how did this come to be in this moment right here? And if you really think about it, it's like these things are incredible. So working with another person, especially something as uh, tedious. Well, tedious is a bad word because if you're writing for fun, it's obviously not going to be tedious, but repetitious, or in some cases, like Anna, sometimes getting that out is painful in her point of view, and a totally different experience for somebody else. So getting that together and cohesive is always so impression. Like it's very cool to me. So what about Tosh? And I still don't know who wrote exactly what parts of the book to 100%, but Tosh, whose character was that?
So yeah, Tash is I would say mostly my character. I can't remember. I think you did you write a little bit of his POV at the end? I can't remember.
Yeah, he get yes. I think yeah, a tiny bit, but yeah, he's mostly yes, yeah. So,
Yeah,
I mean, you can kind of split it. The male characters are Fletch, the female characters are me, kind of roughly.
Okay. I love that. So I have to say, most of the time, as far as especially novellas, I didn't get into reading novellas until last year because I don't know why, and I hear a lot of people say this too. It's like, well, I just didn't think that I could enjoy a story so short because I love these big epic fantasies, and then I realized the skill of people who can write short stories. It's a whole nother ballgame. It's a I like to say a quick punch to the throat. It's just um, very much a lot of talent goes into the short stories, and this only adds to my um, enthusiasm for novellas. Um, what would you say is something similar so people can kind of relate what this book will be like as far as themes, like go into maybe some influence as far as what it may read like?
Anna, do you have any?
Uh, See, I kind of think it kind of harks back to the old classic weird fiction stuff like Lovecraft and things, but kind of taking the kind of stuff that kind of yeah, it's got that kind of but kind of being explicit about the kind of sex and filth and despair,
Yeah, it's
which
kind of like if you took the Empires of Dust and the Obsidian Path trilogy and you just crashed them together. We're like, there, it's
There we
that
go.
this mad amalgam of yeah,
So
Lovecraft and Moorcock and a bunch of others.
very much the direction I saw that going, and it like I said, it's very unique though. There's not much that I would compare it to in that way. Like it's a very unique voice from both of you. You can be familiar with both of their prose, and this will still be a little bit different. It was refreshing. Absolutely enjoyed it. So, who did the cover and the line work and all that fun stuff? Shout them out.
who did the cover? You know this,
Oh,
Mike.
No, I don't. I don't think it was Felix.
Hang on,
no,
let me look. Let me see. Let me see.
Yeah, sure.
I think what is the STK?
Yes, Stephen King.
Yes.
Did he do
Yeah.
the typography?
Who did the cover? It must say somewhere. Somewhere.
Either way, they've done a fantastic job. That shade of green mixed with you've got it raises questions, and I think those are the
Cover
best covers.
artist Carlos Diaz. Here we are.
Carlos Diaz, man, good job, Carlos Diaz. I think it's one of the coolest covers ever, and it does have a Felix like detail to it. Because at first I thought he did the cover, and found out it was him, but he did a wonderful job. It raises questions. You see these people running for something or away from so whatever it may be, and it's an inviting cover.
Yeah, it's
But
pretty close to scenes from the end of the book.
yeah, yeah, I love that. I absolutely love those little golden nuggets of info. So, how long did it take for this idea to start and it come to a finish?
3 years, four. We kind of started in what 2017, I want to say.
It was later than that.
Was it later?
2018, 2019 even.
Yeah, it could be. I
Yeah.
don't remember. But then I remember we got started, and then COVID landed, and various lives, like our lives both blew up in different ways, and and it really was. We were into like 2022, 2023 when we came back to it, and we're like, oh shit, we should finish this. And
Well,
Yeah,
and
it was,
Adrian's
yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, I had some like health problems and stuff as well. Yeah, no, it was all kind of, yeah, it was originally, it was this kind of, oh, it'll be quite quick. And then, yeah, no, COVID just kind of destroyed it because for a while. But then, yeah, we were able to kind of go back to it. See, it had this kind of moment. I don't know. I kind of feel like it was complete chaos, but it kind of feels like we both just absolutely knew it was a slightly scary experience because, so I always see it. I kind of see my whole book. I kind of realize actually maybe I do have that autistic savant thing where I see it as a landscape and I'm walking through it. Like people say they can recite pi to like 6,000 digits because they see it as a landscape and then walking through it. And I suddenly realized I kind of have that about my books. But the really scary thing is I get the feeling we had a shared landscape we were both walking through or something, which was slightly freaky. But it just kind of worked. And I'm not sure if we tried to do it again, it would work again.
It would work
But I
again.
don't know.
You're muted there, dude.
I did mute myself. My bad, guys. No, that's wonderful insight to the process, and it's not a short novella. So I believe The Fall by Ryan Kyle was like 93 pages, and I loved that. And so it's not far from a novel, right? I don't know the exact numbers or whatever, but it can't be that far.
I don't know, like 50, 60,000 words, somewhere in there.
Yeah, I'd have to look that up. I know there's like a limit to word count or whatever. But so when does this come out?
Oh, it says at the bottom of the screen.
Yeah,
It's-
let's just read that.
You would.
Amazon now. It drops on March 19th, 2024, which is good because we didn't know that.
Oh, it's really funny, man, how certain things happen. Oh, and thank you. I meant to throw your question up, by the way, Jan. I'll throw them both up here in a second. But it is funny, some of the process, depending on if you're traditionally published or self-published or your process, whatever people involved with the publishing period, some things are not always black and white. And I think it's kind of, it makes me giggle a little bit that you guys didn't know it was coming out March 19th. I love that, though.
Yeah, kind of knew it was in March sometime. There's just so much other stuff going on,
Oh.
It's, and I'm disorganized in the best of times.
Yeah, well, you seem to have a book out every bloody week. So I'm
Yeah,
not...
it's less impressive than it seems because some of these books were written 3 years ago and have spent time in limbo, being shopped and all that other crap. So it's just the way it worked out. I ended up with 4 written books, after a year where only one book got released.
Oh, only one book. Oh,
Yeah, well, I mean, like I'm not doing anything else. So if I'm not finishing at least 2 a year, it means I'm sitting on my ass watching too much TV.
These two are too humble to tell you how things really are here in real life, but these two are ambitious, wonderful writers who if for one crazy moment, get half the amount of enjoyment from something that I write and somebody telling me, man, I'd be successful. I absolutely adore both of your guys' prose in the darkest ways, in the most prolific ways. I watch your Twitter all the time, and of course Anna's too, but you talk a lot about books that you've written before and maybe changing certain things up for like a future publish. And I like that because it gives your fans an idea of what you're up to, and fans care about that stuff.
I just don't know any better than to share all the shit going on in my head. So
There it is. And I remember what it was that I was like, I have to read him. I was watching Fletcher, and he was going over his favorite Grimdark series. And he said, I think this series is like, so he said something along the lines of like beautifully disgusting. But he's like, I just can't get enough of it. He's like, and I believe you were really high on his favorite Grimdark list. And I was like, I have to check this out. But you have a podcast coming out sometime, right?
Yeah, so the Dripping Bucket podcast, oddly enough, we're recording a bunch of episodes, so we've got a nice backlog, so we're not sort of
That's
trying to.
smart.
And I think early into February, Anna's going to join us as a
Yep.
guest, and we've got Rob Hayes, Ben Galley, Clayton,
It's
Mahir
nice.
from Fantasy Book Critic is going to join us. Yeah, so we're it's just for fun, we hang out, chat with authors about stuff.
It is. It is so much fun. I had no idea when I started the channel I would be doing what we're doing right now. It just kind of fell in my lap. So it kind of just goes back into my appreciation of you two being here and allowing me to talk with this really amazing novella you guys created. Um, so, sorry, I was going to throw up this question real quick from Mr. Uh, Jan Godfrey. How to does it feel to see them living on the page instead of just in your head? That was to Anna.
It's kind of weird. It does always feel slightly emptying. I kind of slightly worry that eventually I'm going to write out all these different bits of me and they'll be in books and then there'll be nothing left of me, because it kind of feels, I felt really empty after I finished Empires of Dust, because it's like Marith and Thalia. Yeah, they've been in my head for forever. And now they were like out on a bookshelves and it felt really strange. And actually, yeah, I think this one did actually empty me out a little, because yeah, there was kind of really weird, some of the really weird stuff about Inanna, that is stuff that's been in my head for a really long time. And some of it I think is stuff that I did write, but I don't remember. I couldn't remember, but I'm sure I wrote stuff like that for myself when I was a teenager. And it's just kind of, I wrote it down, but it's been in my head. And yeah, maybe I'm kind of emptying myself out again. Again, with this sort of Bronze and Ashes, that was a different part of me. That's my kind of, that sort of folk, that's very kind of folk horror and folk song influenced. And that's a slightly different part of me. That's a kind of more joyful part of me, I guess, less disgusting. But I'm kind of, I don't know, maybe I'm slowly emptying myself out, and after a couple more books, there'll just be nothing left.
So you said the sorry, Mike, go back. My bad. Go ahead,
No,
dude.
it's all good. Go ahead. Go for
I was just going to say you said the word disgusting, and the way that I use that in a great way when I describe this book is I'm trying to come up with a great way to say how you do it. Really, the descriptions are just more visceral than I thought somebody could uh, explain to me and make me feel through words on a piece of paper. So, um, absolutely an experience. And from what I understand from what you're saying, seeing those characters on paper, just that familiarity. You put all your whole self out, and like you said, you drained yourself. It's got to be somewhat rewarding to open that book or hear people opening it and enjoying that process you went through.
Yeah, it's the sheer hell of when someone doesn't like it, though.
Mm.
You're like, that's not just a book, that's my soul.
Yeah, I can just imagine. I feel like that would be very hard because us as humans, we're very self-critical, and it's a commonality amongst people, humans, period. So I can definitely understand that. Absolutely. So I had a wonderful question in my head. Here we go. So people are going to pick this book up because they know you two, they know Grimdark magazine, and then the other people, once they hear about, they see reviews or the themes, whatnot, how it's been received, then those other people. So as far as that natural process happening, people are mostly going to pick this up, like myself, and be excited about it because they love both you guys. So tell us a little bit about what you're working on right now and what's to come up next for you. And we'll start with Michael.
Sure. Okay, so I'm working on a standalone fantasy novel, something totally new. Originally, the joke name that the working title was a clash of grannies, because I wanted to write about two elderly women in a fantasy world, and they're both like sort of grizzled war vets in very very different ways. Um, and so Clash of Grannies, which is now Dust of the Dead, is probably going to be the title. It's almost finished. I'll have a like working first draft in a week or two, and then I'm into edits and stuff. My agent currently reading a middle-aged fantasy novel. Shot him. Is there something else going on? No, I think that's it. Oh, and the co-write with Crystal Matar. Fuck, forgot about that. Heroic fantasy
Wow.
kind of thing.
That's awesome. I just talked to her, and she said the most wonderful things about you, and
Yeah, I pay her well to do this.
that it is. It's a commonality amongst the community we're all a part of, and it's really inviting. David List, my brother, my fellow beardsman, not to be a nerd, but can Mike's? Oh,
Yeah, I can do that.
there we go. I guess I should read the context of things.
How's that doing?
Oh, dude, that's gold.
Much better.
That was beautiful.
Okay.
Absolutely. So yeah, again, what are you working on now, and what's to come up next for you, Anna?
Okay, so yeah, at the moment I'm working on the second book in the remake of This World Ruined series, which is my kind of folk horror, high fantasy, which is actually killing me because the first volume, I've got it with me. Look how prepared I am. So this one, Sword of Bronze and Ashes. I mean, that was compared favorably to Tolkien, and you're like, that was compared favorably to Tolkien and Moorcock, and you're like, where do you go from there? I mean, so that's slightly killing me because I keep writing every sentence I write. I'm like, this is not to be compared favorably with Tolkien. Ugh. And that's actually really, the second book in a series is always really difficult because you've written the first one and it kind of finishes, and obviously it's not finished, but you've written it and it's out there, and then suddenly you're like, oh, hang on, I've got to do it again with the same people in the same world. And actually
Which do you find hardest, the second or the third?
So the third is that kind of the final one. You've got this like the temptation just to write, and some shit happened that you don't need to know about, and here's the big battle at the end, because it's all building up. It's building up to the end. So you're like, well, we're just gonna like womble around for a bit before the end because that's what we're all here for, the end. And that's kind of weird. But the second, I find the second one hardest actually because you're like, shit, okay, we've got these characters. And then the same characters, so I know them. And that kind of excitement of discovering them is gone. And now they've got to do something else that isn't the same as the thing they did before.
Yeah, but it's also not the ending.
Yes, but it's also not the ending. Yeah, and that, I mean, I always say I love book twos of things. I really love, because they've got that space. I love the middle thing because it's got the space just to be rather than having the set, the introduction or the ending. But I think that, and that's probably why they're the hardest to write, but why actually they're probably often the best because they've got that space. But yes, but that's killing me. That's absolutely bloody killing me.
Takes that pressure off you for a second where you're like, okay, I can do what I want. Not that that's really like ever different, but I can understand a little bit, maybe in a different process for me personally, but why that space would allow you to maybe just make it more natural. Is that somewhat what you're saying?
I don't know, because you've got this kind of fear that you're just kind of, okay, they've done all this, they're just being the same. But then if they start developing, you're like, yeah, but they're not the same person anymore. And everything everyone liked about them in book one, what if I'm losing it? Well, how do you find it, Mike? Is it book two or book three that gets to you the worst?
I think book two is in some ways the hardest to write. But book three is the scariest. Because for me, like for book three, it's the like, how am I going to wrap all this up? And yeah, I suspect I plan a bit more maybe than you do, but I'm still not planning out every detail. I usually have like an idea, and I don't really know how it's going to feel until I've written it. That sort of like that culminating scene, and then I'll read it back, and like the last City of Sacrifice book, I was like, well, that was a fucking letdown. Scrapped it, threw it in the garbage, rewrote it. It was like, oh, that's better. And then like a couple of ideas clicked and I realized what I'd been writing to the entire time. Scrapped that one, rewrote the ending again, was like, there it is. Like it just that that feeling that like, yes, okay, that's been wrapped. And that doesn't mean anyone else is going to feel the same way, you know, but
But
the last book I find the most, you
scary.
know, scary. Yeah.
I was pondering, and I had never really thought about it in that perspective. You know, you say you plan a trilogy, which one of those books are going to feel uh, different than the last, or how are they going to differ? Um, and thank you for sharing that. That's another part that I kind of wanted to cover was you two have been writing for quite some time. You have a lot of the same experience. You can relate with one another in many ways. And I'm sure that played a part in this partnership, this co-author journey that you went on.
Yeah.
Would you
Yeah.
say that's Would you say that's true?
Yes, we've been friends for a long time. So yeah, I kind of
Familiar?
Yeah, I mean, for
yeah.
me, I love the idea of having to try and keep up with Anna.
Yeah.
Like the Empires of Dust is like insane. Like I don't know how many times. Like Anna is a sort of prose monster,
Yeah.
and I am this sort of like, mm, you know, put words in sentence.
Oh, stop!
Yeah, and so like Anna's got this sort of a very stream of consciousness sort of feel
Ooh.
sometimes. And whereas I'm kind of more like, okay, I'm picturing a scene, I'm writing it, I'm trying to put the reader there. Uh, but like I'd read her stuff and be like, how did she do that? And start trying to like understand how she achieves stuff. The weirdest thing was Anna's style creeping into my writing during the process of In the Shadow. Um,
Wow.
and it's kind of frustrating and cool because on some level like that's I can't quite do that,
Hmm.
but I still felt like by the end of it I was a better writer, like I'd learned, you know
I love that.
sometimes that you let go, that ability to just sort of go like, okay, let's let the words do the work, let's just sort of put what I'm feeling on there and like be less sort of maybe systematic about it.
Ooh, I like
Does
that.
that make sense, or am I just fucking babbling?
No, that makes a lot of sense. Me with the aspiration of wanting to write and uh, reading Anna's work is a very similar process or experience with me as it is you. It's impressive, and I also feel the same about your storytelling and like you said, I like how you put the reader in that moment. A lot of things that I wouldn't choose to pay attention to as somebody who hasn't went to school for writing or really uh, read for very long, because growing up I didn't. So it's fun, it's exciting, but even more so when a writer's work challenges me, I'm on board. Uh, it just absolutely sucks me right in. So you both do that. But having similar experiences, from what I hear, played a huge part in this coming to fruition. Um, so I know a lot of people are really excited about it. I feel like they've got a pretty good idea of what to expect, and I'm excited for you guys to get more feedback because I'm sure that's the best part of this. Or is it? Is writing more fun for you guys, or is that okay? It's out there now. Let's hear what people have to say.
Anna, you want to
Anna,
run me down?
You go. I'm
Michael.
For me, it's more about the process. I mostly don't like reading reviews. Um, I like fan mail. Fan mail is awesome. I love getting fan mail, but I don't kind of want to go hunting for reviews because some people are going to love it, some people are going to hate it. And frankly, the reviews, they're not for me.
Mm.
They're for other readers, right? It's not like I'm going to read a review and go, wow, that guy's right. I really should change the way I write X. Fuck off. Like, I'm going to do my thing. If you like it, awesome. If you don't like it, okay, cool. Like, you'll find another book. There's lots out there. For me,
Love
I,
that.
I love the process. I love writing. So I tend to write a book, get it out there, half-ass the promotion. I'm on to the next project. I'm not really thinking about it anymore.
I love that, and as part of you and what you do, and there's lots of people who love it. Now, Anna, maybe I'll word it a little different. Is the process most rewarding for you, like once you've got it on paper, or is it like hearing from your fans, wow, I really loved this part about this particular book? Or is it another part of the process? What's most fun for you?
It is having it down on paper. I mean, I say I hate writing, and I kind of do, but I hate it in a kind of really enjoyable way. I hate it in the same way. So the two things my two great loves in life for things I enjoy are reading and walking. And those are things that I would do for enjoyment. Writing and actually, slightly embarrassingly, incredibly high impact aerobic exercises are two things I do that are just like sheer pain, but also just, like some kind of insane drug experience. They're just, writing is not, I don't enjoy it in the sense of kind of,
I feel like it helps you in as far as
it makes
that's what I've gathered from you and me talking, is that it's a very useful part of your life. It's very rewarding in its own ways for you, and you do it well.
It's rewarding. I enjoy it in the same way, and I used to enjoy doing finals exams at university. I am that person who really enjoyed finals exams, because that kind of that pain of sitting there for 3 hours writing an essay about Alexander the Great or about the use of Homeric similes, and it's just pain, but it's also just like my brain is just going, and it's like, whoa, I had no idea I thought this, but it's kind of, wow, I'm really quite impressed with myself that I have
self-critical. Oh, that ain't bad.
No, it's that kind of, when writing is going well, it is like, for me, it is like doing a finals exam, or like running really, really, really fast, or lifting really heavy weights. It's like, okay, this is pain, but it's also is really enjoyable pain, and and then when it's good, well, I do know when I've written a paragraph that I think that is a good paragraph. I'm proud of that I've just written. I'm proud of that sentence. It has been a long time. It's been a really painful process wresting that paragraph, but it's now here, and it is a really good feeling. And I mean, obviously, I like people like the success. If I was just writing and then sticking it all away in my drawer, that wouldn't be the same thing at all. I mean, we both,
your baby's out in the world.
Yes, we want it to be out in the world, and when someone gets it. But I mean, again, we're both really Marmite writers. I don't know, does that even mean anything to Americans or Canadians?
What's that?
Marmite writer. Does anyone know what a Marmite?
I don't know.
No,
I don't know if I've heard
that. Marmite is a British spread, which is like
tar and...
It's like black salty tar. Yeah, it's like.
Oh wow!
Yes,
I've never heard of that.
Really like it, or you really don't. Both of our books, I don't think anyone has it. Both our books tend to get 5-star reviews and 1-star reviews. Don't think either of us, and I guess I don't think either of us would want lots and lots of 3-star. Kind of, if you're a bit bored and you haven't got much to do and you're stuck on a train, this book feels to pass the time. I picked this book up in the dentist, and it was kind of, it was all right. Neither of us are ever going to be that kind of writer, and I wouldn't want to be that kind of writer. But it does mean we both get some really good reviews, and then
some really bad 1-star I fucking hate you reviews.
Yes.
I mean, I see people posting like,
just read.
I see authors like yourselves post stuff that they get. One that's really funny is Joe Abercrombie does like his 1-star reads. I think one was along the lines of, I had more. Sorry about the kids, guys. Apologize about that. The babysitter, we had a bunch of snow last night, so babysitter was like not happening today. But kind of lost my train of thought there for a second.
Yeah, 1-star reviews, they happen.
Reviews,
you yes. Look at them, hopefully they're funny. You laugh, you move on.
See, I really struggle to move on. I'm one of those. Yeah, no, it's not the ones that are kind of. Yeah, some of the ones like I do really. I'm not one of those people who gets.
If somebody feels so like miserable in their personal life that they deem it necessary to flood inside somebody's vulnerable areas, such as your book or whatever. I mean, people do it and they call it trolling or whatever, and just the most negative stuff. That person must not be happy. And I almost kind of feel bad that somebody would feel a way to say such terrible things sometimes.
I don't think that's ever happened to me.
See,
I mean,
I've
people
had
leave reviews, but that's not really directed at me. And if I'm not reading them, I guess I'm unaware of them. So if they're trying to troll, they're failing abysmally.
So I've had it a couple of times. Yeah, I've had stuff. I've had people contact me personally to tell me how much they hate my books, and
Never
I know.
happens.
You're like, why would you do that? That's just so. I mean, obviously, I
Cool.
know I have loads of really negative reviews out there on Goodreads, and I know kind of partly because it's read by someone, and you're like, okay, this is not your kind of book at all. And I do, and that kind of, that's. I would never go looking for them. I know some people seem to go through their Goodreads and Amazon's reviews, and I don't know why you want to do that, because that's like, I mean, what you're going to go and find everyone you ever dated for 2 weeks and ask them to, parade naked down the street and then ask people to give you views. Like, why would you do that once it's out there? And yeah, some people are going to hate your book, and there are lots of books I've read and hated. And I personally don't review books, but then, that's not something I'm interested in doing. But, there are lots of books I've got really, if you find me late at night in a bar con and ask me about some books, I will start foaming at the mouth. And it was just so fucking awful. Can't believe it got published. And that's fine. But why people feel the need to go and read that, I don't know. And then it's when it is a bit rude when people tag you into reviews like that, because like, why?
Yeah, don't tag me in a fucking
like why invite someone?
Share it, go ahead, but don't tag me.
Yes, it's kind of the difference between, coming up to saying if someone says to you like, "Oh, you look amazing today," or like, "Can I just say, I love your coat," or something. That's nice. If a stranger tells you in the supermarket, "Oh, I love,"
It's constructive.
But the idea that you might go up to a stranger and say, like, "Oh, can I just tell you that coat looks fucking awful on you?" I mean,
Knock them in the teeth.
It just, you're perfectly entitled to have that opinion, but it is just a bit weird when people.
It's like, it's not the opinion why I socked you in your teeth. It was the fact that you thought I wanted to know your opinion.
Yes. But then people reading that, I mean, that does feel a bit like walking down the street going up to complete strangers and saying, "Do you think I'm beautiful?" Why would you want to do that? Kind of, I don't know.
Obviously, I'm beautiful.
Wouldn't that be, you're walking down the street, somebody say, "I just had to stop you and let you know you're looking so wonderful today." And you're like, "Yeah, I know." How terrible would that be, right?
I'm wearing my best jammies.
Yes, my best jammies. David, he says, new life goal: find tipsy Anna at the bar and get her ranting about shitty books. He is a huge fan of yours, Anna.
Oh, you just disappeared. No, I can't get. Yeah, no,
So, couple things. I hope people are just as apologize. Just as excited as I was before I picked this book up, and then afterwards, even more excited to hear more people's how they felt about it, because that's a part of reading a book early. We can't really talk about much of it. So I'm excited for that. I'm more excited for you guys because this is a wonderful baby that you guys put lots of hard times and your passion into. So March 19th, it comes out on what formats? Are you guys familiar with the formats that it's coming out on? We have the ebook,
paperback, ebook. There's some discussion of eventually there being audio. I believe it's simultaneously or close to that coming out in Italian as well.
Oh, wow.
Through an Italian publisher, so that's cool and unusual.
And the ticker at the bottom of the screen says hardcover as well.
Oh, and hardcover.
Yeah, all the pre-orders for all three of those are up at Amazon. I have all those links below, including your guys' personal links. For some reason, YouTube deleted. I put them in twice, so if they're not there, they will be shortly after this. I just lastly wanted to thank you guys for coming to hang out with me and talk about this wonderful novella that I loved so much. One of the bittersweet parts is that a novella, it's over too soon, right? You're like, man, I could have read just about anything from you two, but either way, absolutely loved it. Um, I'm excited for you guys, and again, March 19th, 2024, ebook, paperback, hardcover. Thank you guys so much for being here, Anna and Michael.
Yeah, thanks for having us on.
Thank you so much for having us. And I'm now slightly scared. I'm going to get loads of people hating me for ranting about book reviews. But I'm absolutely fine with negative reviews. I just kind of, I find them really difficult to cope with personally. But I mean, I know that's like part of being a writer is like, you know, people have views on your books, people have views on all kinds of things. It's just, yeah, I just personally can't cope with them. I don't read them, but yeah.
You're not alone. Lots of people, including myself, are not good at criticism. Even if it's like, hey, maybe you should go a little straighter on the road. It's like, oh no, I did it perfect the first time. So I think that's a very human part of you, not only to relate with that, but to talk about it. That's not always easy. So again, I just want to thank you two for letting me hang out with you, borrow you for a little bit, and talk about this wonderful novella. In the Shadow of Their Dying comes out March 19th, 2024. So go pick it up, guys. I know a few people in the chat have already picked it up during this. So yeah, go grab it. We'll see you next time. Oh, tonight, I always do. I managed to remember. The wonderful Janie Wirtz will be on with me tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern. So I'm looking forward to that very much so. And join me if you can. And thanks again, guys.
All right, thanks, man.
Thank you.